Alright everyone, it's time for the Occult, video number 290. The inevitability of death is pretty cool. And I say this unironically. I don't mean it in like an emo way of my life is a never-ending spiral of death and depression, I can't wait to end it. I don't mean it like that. I mean, the fact is, life divides people. When you're born, you become physically, especially, separate from other people, to the point where the main drive in life is to connect with another person and produce hybridized offspring. Death draws them together. Everyone dies. Everyone, purportedly, according to most spiritual systems, has basically the same experience thereafter. In some cases, a religion says, well, you might be divided heaven or hell. In some, you reincarnate, either uncontrollably or in a karmic pattern. I believe in the former. You have like a David Chan, like a waiting space between lives. Sometimes you have purgatory. So everyone gets there in the end, but you get to suffer for a while. You didn't suffer enough in life, so now you have to suffer a little bit in the afterlife before you can go on to heaven or whatever. But the death, the actual dying, I see as a uniter. And the fact that it's inevitable for every man, woman, and child, I think is actually a thrilling prospect. You will go through the dying process, and that great mystery eventually will be revealed to you. Now, it could be that it just means you die and then you stop existing. Well, there's no pain. You won't be self-aware, so it won't really matter. But I don't believe in that, by the way. I have a sneaking suspicion that I believe in reincarnation, but I think that it might be subjugate to Matrix theory. I think it might be like spawning a new character after experiencing things. Maybe in between lives you actually choose like the future life you're going to play like a video game. Maybe the fact that your life sucks is in between lives you're like, well, my last life was way too easy and stuff, and I lived 1,000 years as a space elf and just spent all day dabbling in potions. This time I want to go in hard mode. I think I'll reincarnate on Earth. That's a possibility. It's entirely possible. Think about it. I've thought about it this way. In some video games, you can play video games. Like when I was playing Grand Theft Auto San Andreas one time, I had that moment where I'm like, this is kind of eerie. Because you're playing a video game which has arcade games built into it, and I'm thinking, well, maybe we're in a game anyway. Maybe this is a game in which I'm playing a game playing a game. Talk about gameception. The only caveat is this. The dying process, which is very physical, as the dissolution of the physical matter that comprises your body, probably is not pleasant. I hate to tell you this, but get used to the idea that when you die, it's probably not going to be too happy. I think the best way to die is to be instantaneously vaporized in a massive explosion. Anything which destroys your nervous system faster than the nerve conduction velocity, so a very large explosion, nuclear blast, something like that literally melts your neurons away instantaneously, that would be a painless death. You'd simply blink out of existence, you wouldn't even know what hit you. Unfortunately, if you get like hit in the head or something, like shot, that's not instantaneous. The death is instantaneous in the sense that the living thing has stopped functioning, because it's no longer receiving the output nervous sort of impulses, but the memories and shit are still firing. I think that actually brain trauma is the worst way to go, because imagine that your entire reality is instantaneously fractured, and your self-awareness is sort of like partially there, connected to some of your memories but not others, and they're firing uncontrollably. You could end up in a situation where you just hallucinate your worst possible situation over and over while your brain slowly dies from lack of oxygen. It could take several minutes. As the self-awareness decreases, the conception of time draws out more and more and more. It could take you what you would conceive of as hours or days to die. When you're a cadaver, impulses continue in the muscles for some time after the cadaver has gone cold. Same is true of the brain. A little bit of brain function and no brain function are different things. The brain is still there, the neurons are still intact, firing or not. You're basically in suspended animation. Potentially, it'd be sort of like being in a coma, and most people who have been in those don't think it's very fun. I think that the second best way to go is like what we do with hospice in old folks' homes. A person is clearly dying, they're basically gone. We dope them up to the eyeballs. Well, we're suppressing the negative aspects of death that way, at least in the physical sense of pain, by flooding them with opioids. I think probably the third best way to go is exsanguination. to bleed out very quickly, a slash of the throat or something. And by the way, I'm not encouraging any of these things. I'm just saying from a physiological viewpoint, starving yourself of oxygen would probably be better than brain trauma or something like that, dying of high fever, going into delirium. I think we should dope everyone up to the eyeballs. In fact, even after they've technically died, even shot in the head, dope them up anyway. Literally fire that opium right into their neck and hope that some of it seeps into their brain. Give them a mega dose of morphine. I think that would be the best way to do it. Also, guilt and fear would be a real killer. If you're cognizant enough to be consciously thinking while you're sitting there aware that you're currently dying, depending on how you've lived your life, that could play some sort of a role. This is probably why you like the Norse and stuff, like, oh, just die in battle. Well, if you get your head chopped off, you don't really have time to think about any sins that you've committed, so, it's probably more of a pleasurable experience. I'm love life, and I love the things that I'm doing. I feel spiritually fulfilled. I have a fulfilling job, editing and giving my opinion here and elsewhere. Doing the things that I want to do, get a roof over my head and food in my belly. I don't really have anything to complain about, and I like life. I enjoy it, so I'm not seeking death. But if I were to get, stabbed in the heart tomorrow or something, it would be kind of exciting, because it's like, wow, I guess this is it. Buckle up. It could be it could be the greatest experience ever. It could also suck dick. I am assuming that the being dead part is the better than the actual dying part. Some people fear death. I think I burned that away through the practice of Ashubba. I made a separate video on that subject. Meditation upon the decomposition process and the concept of death. This is a sort of a radical side Buddhist concept. Literally, you'd look at a corpse and you'd meditate and you would observe it and you would try to establish sort of a tangible connection with it, if that makes sense. The purpose of meditation is to feel, to experience different parts of your body, to move your awareness around as a practice of self-awareness and self-control. It's not really about blanking out and trying to become as nothing or any bullshit like that. That's the hippie interpretation of meditation for corporations and stuff. You move your awareness around the body. Most people don't do that during the day. They're not even aware, do they ever ruminate on how their knees feel? Well, no, not really. Well, you can establish that connection and bring about greater self-awareness. You can also externalize it. You can imagine, looking at the can next to me, I can imagine how it feels. I can imagine how it senses, so to speak, from the external looking in. Do it with a corpse. Dead animal, roadkill. Watch it crepitate. Watch it rot away and get eaten by maggots. Think about how that would feel. Burn that sense of fear of this mundane, inevitable process away, and then when you get to death, the idea is that it's less difficult. That's the basic concept behind that mentality. That's about all. Peace out.